Oh, yeah. Spring break was great. Man, just... What the... Who did this? How's it going, everybody? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. And yes, what a difference a week makes, huh? Just in terms of this show, this is what I looked like a week ago. This is what I look like now. So I got a haircut, shaved. I shaved for a video, which is coming out tomorrow. Look at that. I also got a new t-shirt. Link is in the description, so you can check that out. And I'm back at school, so original background once again. Seriously, what a difference a week makes. And the same can be said for Ryan Newman. Before this weekend, Ryan Newman hadn't won a race since 2013. The same goes for RCR. But a bold pit strategy move and a solid final restart gave Ryan Newman and that 31 team their first win in almost 4 years. So congratulations to him, just to start off. We are officially 1/9 into the entire NASCAR season, 4 races in. NASCAR visited its first shorter racetrack in Phoenix International Raceway this last Sunday, and we saw the usual characters kind of run well. Penske drivers looked good early. Kyle Busch came on strong late. He was the only Gibbs driver who really showed much signs of strength on Sunday. And in all honesty, it looked like he was going to coast to victory until a caution came out with just a handful of laps to go, leading to a big final pit stop, which some drivers took 2 tires. A few drivers stayed out completely, including eventual winner Ryan Newman. Some drivers took 4. It led to a crazy final restart, in which some drivers just didn't get going, others did. 3-wide racing on a short mile racetrack like this. Newman was able to hold off Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, the rest of the field, get his first win, like I said. So as I've kind of been doing the last few episodes of this show, I guess I'll just give a little bit of a recap on some of the notable drivers, notable things that happened during the race. Coming into the race weekend, there was a lot of talk about potential retaliation, revenge between a couple of drivers. Kyle Busch, people thought was going to go after Joey Logano and try to get him back since they got a shorter racetrack this week. That really didn't happen. We did see some other revenge that was kind of further from the public eye. You may remember back at Daytona during the duel races, Corey LaJoie and Reed Sorensen were in one of the duels. They were both battling for one of the final transfer spots. LaJoie got into Reed Sorensen and actually wrecked him pretty early in the race. Sorensen obviously was not happy about that. So early in the race here at Phoenix, Corey LaJoie mysteriously ended up in the wall. Later found out the responsible party was Reed Sorensen. So we did get some revenge just from more underfunded, smaller known teams. Kind of avoided, the public eye for the most part. But as for Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, no real retaliation. They were really only by each other on the racetrack for about 1 lap and nothing really happened. So nothing much happened there. Unless you count the final caution, which clearly wasn't intentional, but as I mentioned earlier, Kyle Busch he was cruising to victory with just a few laps to go. And guess who brought out the caution that ultimately messed him up? Now, obviously, Logano blowing a tire with like 5 laps to go was not intentional, clearly. But I'm sure Kyle Busch doesn't appreciate it. So in the end, I didn't really address this in the last episode, but I guess I should have talked about would there be retaliation. I guess I kind of glossed over it because I didn't think there was going to be. I figured after Kyle Busch went back and looked at the incident that happened at Las Vegas, he would kind of see, okay, yeah, Logano kind of screwed up, but I kind of screwed up a little bit as well, so I'm just going to let it go. I figured Kyle Busch would be that guy. And he hasn't proved me wrong yet, although every interview he gives seems to be sending some convoluted message, kind of like a Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant sort of argument where he's hinting that he's mad at Logano, but it's hard to tell if he actually doesn't like him or not. NBA fans will know what I'm talking about. So I can't tell if he's just screwing with everybody selling these shirts and whatnot, or if he's actually fine with everything. Anyway, nothing really came from that this weekend. One development from this race is that we have a new points leader, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is the new Kevin Harvick. He has finished 2nd place 3 races in a row. And this was just one of those cases where he honestly probably should have won this race, except he pulled a Kenseth on the last restart. On the final restart, lanes jumbled up. Larson thought he was clear heading into turn 1, was for a second, and at the last minute, 3rd place car drove it in pretty hard. They made contact. Larson still finished 2nd, but just like kind of what happened to Kenseth at Phoenix last fall, miscommunication between spotter and driver, miscommunication between 2nd and 3rd place car, didn't work out for them. But I'm sure Larson won't hang his head too far down because, like I said, he is the points leader. Doesn't have a win yet, but he is the points leader. He's led laps, I think, in every race this season. He's been in contention to win. Even at Daytona, he was leading at the very end of the race. But he just hasn't quite figured it out yet. And this seems to be a trend these days among drivers. I mean, really. I feel like for a long time we were talking about Martin Truex Jr. would constantly run well, just couldn't quite finish races until the last year or so. Chase Elliott as well. He's been really close a few races last season. And even this season, he's had top 5 cars, and he hasn't really been able to seal the deal yet. Or recently, Kevin Harvick in a couple instances. Just seems to be a common trend with drivers who have a lot of talent. We know they have a lot of talent. They're all capable of winning a championship. Just not quite following through. But things are looking up for Kyle Larson fans. A couple years ago when Larson first got into the Cup Series, there's a lot of high expectations. I mean, he was good in the Xfinity Series, good in the Truck Series. He was driving for a decent team in Chip Ganassi Racing. A lot of high hopes for him. And he ran okay at times, but he made some rookie mistakes, was unable to finish races, like I said. And people are always saying, man, I can't believe he didn't get his first win yet. I can't believe he hasn't won yet. I can't believe he hasn't won yet. And it took him a long time to finally win a race towards the end of last season. But since he won that race at Michigan right before the Chase last year, he has been strong. What we're seeing with Larson is very similar to what we saw with Joey Logano. If you remember, like 7-8 years ago when Logano first got into the Cup Series, he was really young. He was like 18. There was a lot of hype behind him. He was filling in. He was taking over the 20 car from Tony Stewart, a car that had won 2 championships in recent years. Joey Logano, there was a lot of high expectations, and for the first couple of years of his career, he really did not live up to them at all. He was close here and there. It took him a while to get his first win, but he really wasn't a serious contender until several years later when he got to Penske. And really since his first year at Penske, he has blossomed into a full-blown championship contender. And now it looks like it's been a couple of years now for Larson. It looks like we're kind of seeing the same thing. And that could be the same thing we see from Chase Elliott or Eric Jones or Daniel Suarez down the line. Although at least in the case of Chase Elliott, he's run pretty well already. He's also on a better team than Logano or Larson were when they started out, so there's that. But still, things looking up. Every week I've kind of been talking a little bit about how the rookies are doing. There's 3 main rookies. There's Ty Dillon, Eric Jones, and Daniel Suarez. But I've mainly been talking about Jones and Suarez because they're on, the bigger teams and they generally run better. And this week, both of them got their first career top 10s. Suarez finished 7th, Jones finished 8th. Now, if we're going to look at the actual rookie of the year going back and forth, right now I still say Eric Jones is in the lead. He's higher in points. He has 3 top 15 finishes in 4 races this season, whereas Daniel Suarez has consistently run around 20th place in all 4 races this year. Even at Phoenix, he ran consistently around 20th place. Towards the second half, later end of the race, they improved his car. He got up to running 12th or 13th, but really the only reason he finished 7th was due to pitch strategy at the end. He took 2 tires, I believe, and managed to hang in there. Jones, on the other hand, ran top 10 for most of the race, was running 5th before that final caution. He took 4 tires, put him further back. He had to restart like 12th or 13th on that final restart, drove back up to 8th in 2 laps. Didn't get as good a finish as Suarez this week, but a top 10 nonetheless, and he's still ahead of him in the points. Eric Jones right now honestly looks like a chase contender in my opinion. You look at Jones, we're only 4 races into the season, he's already got 3 top 15 finishes like I said, he's already run in the top 5, and he's on a first row racing team that is good. I mean, they've been good with Truex the last couple years, but this is a brand new team. This is a whole new car they've added. And he's doing it with a rookie crew chief in Chris Gale. I know it's early in the season, but if I had to say, I would probably put Eric Jones sneaking into the chase. It wouldn't surprise me if he wins a race this year. That team looks close to good enough. The Toyotas in general seem slightly worse than they were last year, but I don't know if that's going to make too much of a difference. I think Jones, they play their cards right. They could steal a win at some point. Heck, if RCR can get a win, anyone's getting a win these days. They're just giving them out. And that's about it in that sense. I've kind of been on the rookies so far this year because up until the last 2 weeks, they hadn't really been that good, especially Suarez and Dillon. But at least this week, some progress was made. So that's all I have to talk about Phoenix. Looking ahead to California real quick, it's our first big 2-mile cookie-cutter style racetrack. Everyone's favorite. We've already been to tracks like Daytona, and even Atlanta and Las Vegas are fast racetracks where RPMs are big, but California is potentially the most important track to have big horsepower at. Auto Club Speedway is one of those places where you can kind of draft down the straightaways, and having a lot of speed is very important. The thing I'm looking for this week is, can Joe Gibbs Racing just have a solid day all across the board? Because so far this season, we've seen Penske look good. Stewart Haas Racing's had 1 or 2 pretty lousy races, but they've also had a couple really good races. Hendrick Motorsports has been fairly consistently a top 10 team. Chase Elliott's probably looking the best out of them. But Joe Gibbs Racing, it seems like each race there's like 1 Gibbs car that looks really good, and then the other 3 are like barely maybe competing for a top 10 spot. I think last week at Vegas, Kenseth and Hamlin were the only ones to finish in the top 10. This week, Kyle Busch was the only one that really showed competitive speed. Kenseth and Hamlin and Suarez were running like 15th the whole race long. And Joe Gibbs Racing coming into the season, I think, was probably a lot of people's picks to be the most dominant all-around team, as they have been most of the last 2 years. Last season, all 4 of their drivers made it into the final 8 of the chase, so there's a lot of expectation that comes with that. Sure, they lost Carl Edwards, and that is a significant blow, but you still got champions Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth, and Denny Hamlin, who should be a champion at this point. He's almost is. Plus, you've got Martin Truex Jr. and Eric Jones, who's probably, like I said, the most talented rookie right now over, as affiliates, so there's no reason your team should be struggling the way it looks like they are right now. But again, like I said, it is early. We've seen this in the past. Teams will go through hot streaks at different portions of the season. NASCAR, the season's like 9 months long or so. We've still got 8 months to go. There's plenty of time for some teams to get on a roll, some teams to fall back. Still a lot of shakeups. And I can almost guarantee you NASCAR is going to want to try some sort of weird rule changes at certain tracks later this season, so we'll get to see different teams take advantage of those at different ways. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else specifically to talk about on this week's show. Thank you so much for watching episodes every Thursday. Tell your friends. Follow me on Twitter at DexRacing. Patreon, if you're able to contribute there, I really appreciate it. You can be a sponsor of the show. Yeah, I looked on this side of the screen this week. Ooh. T-shirts, hats, which I have somewhere. I just looked on the ceiling. It's not on the ceiling. Somewhere I have hats. All that stuff also available. Links are in the description. Thanks for checking all that stuff out, guys. Thank you, as always, for all your support. Thanks for watching. I have a video coming out tomorrow as well. That's kind of fun. I've been working on that recently. There it is again right there. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good week. I'll see you next time. So this is what my ear looks like.